You remember Play-Doh, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to forget it considering it's still being sold in stores today. I'd imagine for most of you, your primary experience with the colorful non-toxic clay was way back in your rose-tinted youth, when action figures had all-out wars with your rival toys, and totally crap video games were somehow playable.
I wish I may, I wish I must find a princess before I bust.
Either that, or you have kids yourself. If that's the case, I'm so sorry. But yeah, the Play-Doh brand has been chugging along after all these years later. Maybe it's a market-stable toy that's too cheap not to have on the shelves. Even then, I'd say that's pretty impressive given that whole industry. So why am I blabbering on about this inane topic then? Is it to lick the boots of the corporate cow that is Hasbro? No. Today I bring you a piece of obscure media that, despite being aimed at kids, stands above the tropes of that genre. Strap in and prepare for liftoff.
Pap Napples
XP. Play-Doh presents Dodo Island Adventures was a 23-minute claymation VHS tape produced as a bonus item in the Play-Doh set of the same name, released in 2003. Was it made with the Hasbro branded modeling clay? While I can't say definitively one way or the other, I feel confident in saying they did not. While some would say it borders false advertising, if you know anything about claymation, you know a quality clay is the only way to go for professional work, and that simply isn't the Play-Doh demographic. Consisting of 3 to 4 minute segments, each of the 6 mini episodes explore various island locations and themes, while as much as they could given the limited runtime. Our protagonists through these adventures are Dodos. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I did too. But watching and rewatching, as well as some minor investigations, it doesn't seem to be related at all to the extinct bird of the same name, spelled Dodo instead of Doh-Doh. While they are flightless, and one absolutely resembles a bird, it appears to be a case of unfortunate naming. Alright, so before we dig in, I gotta show you that catchy theme song.
There's a place far away.
Squeeze me!
Where
I'm
the
mine.
Play-Doh flows and the Dodos play. Doh-Doh Island. Doh-Doh Island.
There's Flango, Twango, and Tiki too. Don't forget Tweaky and Zlock.
Dodos do what they want to do. On Dodo Island you can do. Dodo Island. Play-Doh. Play-Doh. Play-Doh.
Here's the way I'm gonna break down this video. Instead of trying to explain each episode from start to finish, I'm instead going to examine each character one by one, so we may better understand who they are and what life is really like on the island.
Dodo Island.
Twango. Twango's whole shtick is that he's a scientist, not of the lab coat, pen and paper variety, but the kind that creates crazy, sometimes useless inventions. Someone like Hubert Farnsworth from Futurama.
I call it the Finglonger.
This, let's say, hobby comes up in 2 episodes, Hip Hip Hooray and Bowling for Dollars. In the former, he brings one of his creations, a tube of a mysterious substance, Compound X, to Tweaky's hair salon, giving it a live test on this dying plant. His description totally doesn't sound like steroids or anything.
That's right, Tweaky. It's called Compound X. It's a super secret formula I invented to make dough grow faster, bigger, and brighter.
It's a big success, so it's just haplessly left on a shelf right next to hair product. We'll see what happens next here in another character section. In Bowling for Dollars, Twango's working on a major upgrade to the tried and true bowling ball. It clearly doesn't go his way in the beginning. But by the end he comes up with his, quote, greatest invention, the Bolosaurus 3000. Now I'm not sure exactly how this is an invention, It's literally some sort of spherical dinosaur. But it doesn't really matter. Mott ends up winning the bowling tournament. It's obviously cheating if you ask me. By the way, they used that big volcano toy with the slide tongue as the bowling lane. Now, I'm unaware of any downhill bowling. It seems like it'd either be way too easy or stupidly difficult. But whatever. They had to get that set piece in there somewhere. Outside of these two segments, Twango takes more of a general role in the group. They do try and make him smart in a few spots. Yet, lacking this inventor side really doesn't help distinguish him from the other characters. When it's this way, he is more often than not just another Dodo. A ginger-haired, big purple human feet-having Cyclops.
Dodo Island, Play-Doh, Play-Doh, Play-Doh.
Mott. Mott's whole thing is looking like a weird chicken, and occasionally jumping around, smashing stuff, saying his catchphrase,
Squeeze me! Squeeze me! Squeeze me!
and you know, funny enough, as unfunny and kind of annoying as it is, I caught myself throughout the years saying this at random moments, and 99% of the time completely forgot where it came from. Actually, Mott's in every segment, with varying degrees of involvement. The very first segment, Birth Dough Cake, is actually about Mott's birthday. There's some confusion on who exactly is going to make the birthday cake, Twango or Zlock, until Tiku and Tweaky come along. So they both try and make the best possible cake to trump the other. Twango makes a giant tower cake with large, probably fondant, animals around it.
Don't even think about it.
Zlock's actually looks really delicious. Maybe it's the vibrant colors. He pushes out some candles from atop his head while making some very dumpy sounds. Actually, this is one of the few times in the film where they allude to the feature of the toy. With the plastic Dodos, what you'll have to do is load them up with Play-Doh through their bottom holes, of course, and push their leg and body pieces together to push the dough through their special holes. It's not just their hair and mustaches like in the claymation, but also their eyelids. They look like they'd be a lot of fun for kids of a certain age. While I did have Play-Doh, and I had a few of the pieces from this set, I don't believe I ever had them together, so I never got to play with them the way it was intended. Zlock and Twango bring their wacky cakes to the birthday party, and just like good mature friends, they make peace. Nope, just kidding.
First best.
Second best!
First best.
Second best! First best! Squeeze me! Watch out for the birthday cakes.
It's all good. The jumbled mix of cake turns out to be better together anyways. I know this video/movie/show thing isn't one with some ham-fisted message, like in so many other cartoons of that time period. If I could place one where there clearly isn't, I'd say, if in doubt and struggling with a conflict with a friend, just hope for dumb luck to resolve the situation. Mott's other character trait, when he's not jumping around like a doofus, is regularly enjoying this weird version of bowling, which does seem to be the island's main athletic pastime. While in some aspects it is very much the standard bowling fare. Knock over pins to score points. The more at once, the better. Yet in other instances, the rules are totally alien. Now, we don't get to see much of this aspect of the culture, only appearing in 2 segments. I do think the visuals and theme really fit the end product well.
I heard that.
Dodo Island.
Tweaky. Seemingly, the character with the most development is Tweaky, an unfortunate name giving her always close-by friend, Tiki too. I understand the need to have island-themed names, but really? There's not another name outside of Tiki? Anyway, Tweaky as we've seen before, is the island's resident peacekeeper.
The solution's simple. Why don't you both make Mod a cake?
I don't know.
Then it's agreed?
Agreed.
She's also the chief hairstylist of the Dodos. Seems like she does a pretty good job, seeing as everyone on the island uses her services. While it would appear she's the most level-headed of the bunch, it's not like she doesn't make wildly outrageous decisions from time to time. That Compound X Twango showed off before accidentally, due to a mix-up, gets used on Zlock.
Let's take a look-see.
And since he likes these obviously wicked results,
You mean you're not mad?
Mad? This is the most fantastically fun hairstyle anyone's ever had in the entire history of Dodo Island.
Tweaky decides to use it on Mott and Flango. And while yes, it's all in good fun, all's well that ends well, the goo is short-acting, she did use a strange chemical compound on several inhabitants. What else does she do? Well, she's big on gardening. In the episode Yo-Ho-Do, the main gang, Zlock, Twango, and Mott, are LARPing as pirates. They find a treasure map, funny enough.
It leads past Tiki Falls, over the quicksand bar.
Through Fog Forest to X marks the spot.
Hooray! We're gonna hunt for buried treasure. Squeeze me! Squeeze me!
That's Mott for you. We then cut to Tweaky, hard at work in her clay garden. The boys are doing a little stealth.
Guess I've been out in the sun too long. And if I'm gonna finish planting this flower bed, I better get some help.
As you can see, she's definitely the adult figure on the island. But who has time for that when there's treasure aboot? So she's mad, but $20 is $20.
Mess! If I've told you Dodos once, I've told you 100 times. Stay out of my... Did you say buried treasure?
Welcome to Who Wants to Be a Dough Millionaire? Here's your question. What's inside the treasure chest? Is it A, gold doubloons, B, an eye patch, C, rare clay, or D,
Squeeze me!
is that your final answer? Treasure dough? This is clearly a piss-colored mushy lump. But okay. I'm sorry, but what's so special about treasure dough when we've literally seen several times, even in this episode, Dodos just create what they want whenever they want it. Like this hammer. Now it's a parakeet. Ta-da!
You do?
Sure, you're going to keep playing pirates. And you can start by cleaning up this mess with your yo-ho-hos.
She's firm, but fair.
Dodo Island.
Tiki 2. Tiki 2 has a really interesting design, being the only Dodo with eyes on the top of his head, and with his red coloring and whiskers, in place of typical Dodo hair. It's obvious what animal he's supposed to be inspired by. Crab. Island crab. While appearing in all of 3 segments, he is unfortunately a major contender for most underdeveloped character. I understand that with every show, you need side characters. That role is necessary, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a piece of media that didn't have one. The problem is, Tiki 2 has probably the single best design. So since we're taking a look at each and every Dodo, let's look at what's here. He has the most to do in Yo-Ho-Do, so let's check out his appearance. So, here's my first critique. When Mr. Tiki 2 speaks, it sounds like he's got problems of the mental kind.
Treasure?
Sure it is. It's treasure dough, the most rare and magical dough in all of Dodo Island.
I'd imagine they were going for a goofy yet lovable buffoon, kind of like Patrick from SpongeBob. But I don't know, kind of sounds like one of those doofus henchmen in those old cartoons.
That's a great idea, Tweaky. Then we can have 2 yummy birthday cakes instead of just 1.
He even sounds like Patrick, Just a Patrick from a different version of SpongeBob.
Malaysian fire seaweed.
As a side note, I did think he worked with Tweaky in the salon, being one of those cliché flamboyant hairdressers. But looking closer, that doesn't seem to be the case. From what I could gather, he's simply there for a scheduled haircut. Only problem is, bald.
Dodo Island.
Zlock. Zlock has a, well, unique voice.
Not now, Mott. We're busy. Oh, the treasure! We found it! Now hold this, Mott, while I...
While in some spots it's pretty passable as far as kids show voice acting goes. Mostly, though, it's super grating and obnoxious.
Now, according to the map, the treasure should be buried smack dab in the middle of Tweaky's prize-winning Splatoon.
On his looks, he actually has some unique features compared to the other Dodos. He's pure blue with green hair, one-eyed, just like Twango, has a gnarly green soul patch, and strangely equipped with webbed feet and face fins. If Mott gives off chicken vibes, then Zlock's definitely a duck-fish hybrid. Bizarrely, the face fins are completely missing from both the intro and segment transitions. Whether it's a continuity mistake or simply an effect of a production time limit, it's interesting to witness the gradual evolution of a character's design. So Zlock, just like Mott, he's in every single episode. And with a voice like that, why wouldn't you always give him a speaking role?
Oh, you wanna brag about it?
I don't think there's one particular episode where he's the main focus. So instead of observing a given segment, let's take a brief glimpse into all of them. 1. Thinks he should be the one to make Mott's glorious birthday cake, and gets into a rivalry with Twango.
He would never have asked me to make the cake that you think he asked you to make instead of me. Isn't that right, Mott?
To see who truly is the greatest baker. 2. Zlock and Mott team up to return the accursed Diamond Dough Stone.
I found a good luck charm this morning.
They stop in the woods to check their supplies. And here we get to see some more of that bombastic clay logic.
Okay, let's double check to make sure we have everything we need. Rope?
Check.
Canteen?
Check.
You're the canteen?
Yep.
Where's the water?
I already drank it.
Lantern?
Check.
A banana? How are we supposed to see anything with that?
Ta-da!
Their journey leads them to Snake Pyramid. And well...
Cut it out, Zlock, that tickles!
After all that effort, turns out the, quote, Diamond Dough Stone was a simple squeaky toy.
See?
That's another reason to dislike Flango, as if we needed any more of those. 3. Goes into Tweaky's salon to get a haircut. As we saw before, it didn't take long before things got weird.
Well, how do I look?
I know I'd look like a crazy person if I wore something like that on my head, but hot damn is that cool. 4. The boys are role-playing as pirates. Arg!
Well, blow me down. It's a bit rough out on the sea today. Looks like there's a storm a-brewing in the east.
Zlock's the captain, but not completely unchallenged.
Why do I have to do the digging?
Because
I know. You're the captain.
You know what happens next? A little sleuthing, a little buried treasure, a little hard labor. 5. Isn't in this one until the very end, in the group of Dodos waking Flango up from his gaming-induced stupor. And 6. While I want to save this one for a section to come, I will say, Zlock doesn't do much in this one. Like in all the other sections we've looked at, he plays his part and plays it well. A sidekick that occasionally makes your ears bleed.
Look, everyone, only one pin left.
Here, let's end this section with his old-fashioned handshake.
Agreed.
Oh.
Yuck.
Dodo Island.
Flango. In my opinion, there really didn't need to be 4 of the male Dodos, not including Tiki 2, because let's get real. With 6 short segments, it's not as if there's enough time to develop in-depth character traits to begin with. Twango's a scientist, Zlock's got an annoyingly grating voice,
What's so funny?
Mott's got his catchphrase,
Squeeze me! Oops.
and Flango likes to, hang around and play arcade games, I guess. He does appear in a few segments in minor parts, like as one of the Dodos getting a new hairdo. And as the catalyst that starts Happy Doh Lucky.
I found a good luck charm this morning.
He does appear as the center focus in the segment called Video Dodo, where we find him, funny enough, playing in an arcade, hammering away at the island's version of Whack-A-Mole, Whack-A-Tiki. Now there's clearly actual arcade cabinets in the background, but I guess he enjoys the tactile feel of the classics. He's down in the dumps cause, get this, there's nothing that makes him special compared to the others. Probably an inside joke between the creators.
I'm not the best at anything.
What does he do? Stays up late playing games. Who hasn't been there?
In a whole new way, a whole new way, a whole new way.
Well, just like all those late nights, the game follows Flango into the dream world. The whacker becomes the whacked. That came out wrong. Within a split second, Flango's now super confident.
Tennis always was my racket. Come on, attaboy, put it right here over home plate. The old spitball right down the middle.
I really don't know what seeing things from the mole's perspective would give you, but whatever. It's cartoon logic.
Where am I?
In the Doh Game Arcade, silly.
The Doh Game Arcade? Jesus Christ! Some of these dough puns fall flat on their face. And just like that, he's a pro whacker. What? You heard me. So here's my criticism. He doesn't have an original color, and seeing how deep these characters are, he really could have used something that made him stand out. It begs the question as to why'd they go and produce like 6 characters instead of focusing on like half that. Just seems like they had bigger plans in mind, though I can't find much information on the internet about that.
Dodo Island, Play-Doh, Play-Doh, Play-Doh.
Now that we've examined all the various Dodos on the island, we may as well catalog the other species on display. We spot our very first creature in the first segment, sentient tiki statues, which as we've seen earlier in this video, have been used by more advanced beings as makeshift bowling pins. It's unclear if they were crafted with this role in mind, or if they existed before this and were simply commandeered for the task. Either way, it brings up some ethical questions on their use in this way. Now, if you listen to them speak, they clearly don't really seem to care too much.
Yeah, and by the way, don't let the teensy-weensy fact that no one's ever made this shot before in the entire gazillion-year history of Dodo Island make you nervous or anything.
If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a couple of smart-aleck bowling pins.
They certainly are mischievous little buggers. Though, who could blame them given their place in the food chain? On to the next species, the dough-eating plant. Look at this thing. Large and carnivorous, with long, flexible vines it uses as quasi-arms. Apart from the large, creepy eyes, it reminds me a lot of the piranha plant boss fight in Yoshi's Island. I know I just mentioned the food chain, but this thing creates a question. What exactly is the Dodo's place in it? Given this thing, as well as the next 2 entries, not nearly quite as high as we first thought. Also, it's not hard to see how the dough-eating plant got its name.
chewy.
Well, what do you know, Flango? You just happened to get swallowed by a dough-eating plant with no taste for practical jokers.
Now that's what I call lucky.
Next on the chopping block is an animal with a proclivity for slithering. The giant snake that lives in Snake Pyramid. We can safely say that there is, at minimum, one of these humongous monsters on the island. I know there's a lot of snake haters out there, so I guess I'm not going to offend anyone when I say one massive serpent is probably one too many. Maybe it's the last of its kind, and it's hiding out in this pyramid, kind of like the Balrog hiding beneath Moria. Maybe it's for the best, considering it couldn't even catch a single Dodo, for God's sake. For our final beast, we'll finally check out that last segment on the tape. Bowling for Dollars. We open with an orange and red egg rolling across the lands. There's Tweaky still in her garden.
That's not a bowling ball, Mott. It's a dinosaur egg. A Splatosaurus egg, to be exact.
Well, a Splatosaurus, is it? Obviously a baby dinosaur. Of course, Mott wants to keep the damn thing.
Aw, can't I keep him, Twango? He's so cute.
Twango counsels to return the little critter back to its nest before Mama Dino finds out and puts the splat in Splatosaurus. The gang venture into what appears to be a designated dino district. We know this by this clearly placed sign. Don't you just love signs? I gotta ask, is Dodo Island set in the distant past? Or in an alternative future where the dinos never went extinct? Perhaps that much thought never went into it, but still, Mama Splat comes back and is pissed. How do the boys get out of this one? Remember what I said before about dumb luck? Well, Mott somehow knows how to speak Splatosaurus. It's convenient. And not at all an exciting way to resolve a problem. Sadly, it's a type of conclusion all too common in this video.
Dodo Island, Play-Doh, Play-Doh, Play-Doh.
So that was Play-Doh Presents Dodo Island Adventures on VHS. Was it any good? Absolutely. While yes, segments were way too damn short to ever tell dynamic stories. And like I stated a moment ago, conclusions mostly boil down to sheer dumb luck. I still feel like it's charming enough to be enjoyable to even an adult viewer. How much of this is the art style and claymation? Most of it for sure. If you watch my Bruce Bickford video, you'll be aware I'm a pretty big fan of this kind of visual. And why shouldn't I be? This stuff is awesome to look at. It took this collection of pretty shallow scripts targeting to the absolute youngest demographic and turns it into something visually pleasing and watchable. And you need to remember, this was created as a pack-in bonus item in a kid's toy. They didn't actually have to include it, seeing as nothing even now does this kind of thing. It does foster goodwill with the people that give a crap about this kind of thing. I know Play-Doh is a terrible modeling clay for claymation, the only thing I'd want to use it for at this point in my life. And yet, I don't feel like that's a bad thing. Unlike most of the toys today, which are, in my opinion, cheap plastic wrapped around ancient low-grade tech, if indeed it contains tech to begin with, all at exorbitant prices. With Play-Doh, you at the very least know what you're going to get. It's hands-on fun for that age group, and not a completely unbearable annoyance like other products, unless it gets in your carpet, or gets hair in it. Good luck getting the entire strand out without breaking it, bud. Well, there you have it. Bit of an obscure piece of media today, but hey, that's why I do these kinds of videos, to bring you something kinda cool you may have been completely unaware of. I try and only cover topics I have some level of interest in doing, and this one was definitely on the list. I figured it'd be a quick video to make in between working on some of my larger projects. But knowing me, I wrote far more than predicted. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe for more killer content. And if you watched Dodo Island as a kid, or hell, just found it interesting, leave a comment below. Until next time, I'm Pap Napples.